an historian reflecting on American culture. This person said, "Never in the history of the world," that's a pretty big statement, isn't it? "Never in the history of the world has a culture and its values concerning sexuality drifted as fast and as dramatically as America has over the past 50 years. Now, that's a little bit of a dated quote. It kind of goes back to the 1950s up till today, so maybe 70 years. But still, wow, what a statement. Never has a culture drifted as far as fast in the area of sexuality and the values toward that as America has. Now, note, they're not saying that this culture is the worst of all time. Okay? They're just saying that there's never been one in such a short period of time that has gone so far from here to here in their view of sexuality. So let's look at the shift. In 1950, 5% of girls and 10% of boys were reportedly sexually active. You fast forward to today, and we're looking at roughly 70 and 80%. Is what the statistics tell us. The divorce rate in the 1950s was in the single digits. Then in 1969, we came up with this little thing called the no-fault clause, which meant that no one had to really say or prove that anyone in the relationship had done anything wrong or warranting divorce. You just had to claim incompatibility. And as a result, you guys know this, you've probably heard this a million times, but the divorce rate today is well over 50%, and that includes in the church. In 1987, it's a good year, I remember that year real well. There were 75 million XXX films rented in 1987, okay? 75 million porn movies rented. You go forward just 5 years to 1992, and that number jumped from 75 million to 490 million. Pretty sharp increase. Go forward just 4 more years to 1996, and it went from 490 million to 665 million. And then you know what happened after 1996? The internet came into being, and we have no clue where it went after that. We don't even know how to keep the stats. But it is estimated that north of 40% of men regularly visit porn sites today. And the number of women is rapidly increasing. Read a little piece by a therapist who specializes in sexual addiction. Wow, what a world where you can that's your job to just deal with that. But this person said the first 25 years of their practice, they had no female patients. They were all men. In recent years, that number has spiked to now 30% of their practice is women who are dealing with sexual addiction. Wow. 1952, this one's a little lighter, but boy, does it ever make the point. 1952, Lucille Ball, she and Desi Arnaz, she was pregnant with her first child. And if you remember the I Love Lucy show, she couldn't even say the word what? She couldn't even use the word pregnant on the show because it was considered too risque. And she and Ricky were always portrayed as sleeping in separate single beds as a married couple in their bedroom, which is not realistic, but that's where the culture was. My, how times have changed. Look at TV today. I don't even know if there are any standards, especially if you're talking about paid viewing. Crazy. Now, I share all that. I'm not trying to draw any giant conclusions or make any huge point other than just to say, wow, look at the shift. Look at how much our culture has changed in just these last 70 years. That is crazy. It's important for us as Christians to not hide our head in the sand. It's important for us to pause and understand this and see it for what it is. It's important for us as Christian parents to realize this is the culture that we are raising our children in, right? And that we as Christian parents need to be really diligent at making sure that our children understand that as followers of Jesus, we live in this world, but we are not of this world. We live in this culture, but the culture that we live in accordance with is not this culture, it is the culture of the kingdom of God. We order our life around the King and his teachings. And when it comes to sexuality, we build our world around his will. And to help our kids understand that. Not just the rules, but the whys behind it and the blessings that come from it. And that it all comes from God's love and his desire for us to have a great life. We need to also understand that this culture is the culture that we as Christ followers are called to reach with the gospel. Right? We're called to proclaim Christ and the difference he can make in this world. And trust me, you know what comes along with a lot of this shift is a lot of bondage and a lot of drama and a lot of pain and a lot of brokenness. And the gospel shines a light of redemption and hope for all of that.